If I could show you the mug, I would. But it isn't with me anymore. At least, not in the way you'd think. Every morning now, I wake up expecting to see it. Sitting there, grinning on the counter. Sometimes, I still smell the faint trace of burnt coffee and rust, even though I haven't touched the thing in months. I've told myself over and over that it's gone, that I broke it, buried it, burned it. But the problem with some objects is, when they've had a taste of you, they don't let go. So before you think I'm crazy or making this up, I want you to listen carefully, because what happened to me started with something so small, so harmless, so ordinary. You'd never imagine it could ruin your life. If you've ever held something that felt wrong, maybe a doll, a photo, a gift from someone long gone, and you couldn't explain why it made your chest tighten, you might understand what I went through. This story isn't about ghosts or monsters. It's about temptation. About one small stupid decision I made, one sip, that changed everything. And by the end of this story, you'll think twice before drinking from a cup that doesn't belong to you. My name's Liam. I used to run a small coffee shop in the city. The Rusted Bean. It wasn't much. I opened it after college, hoping it'd be my escape from dead-end jobs and failed interviews. But by last winter, the shop was falling apart. Bills stacked like towers, rent overdue, machines breaking. Every day felt heavier than the last. Then came the call. My Aunt Mildred had passed away. She was eccentric, that's putting it mildly. She collected things, strange things. Old paintings, mirrors, dolls with cracked eyes. We weren't close. But when the lawyer said she left me something, I thought maybe, just maybe, I could sell whatever it was to pay my debts. A few days later, a dusty crate arrived. Inside, layers of straw and newspaper, sat an antique tea set. It was beautiful at first glance. Gold-trimmed saucers, delicate porcelain cups with hand-painted roses. Except one. One stood out like a wound, jet-black porcelain, thick and cold to the touch. Its handle curled into two small horns. The rim, painted in deep red glaze, shaped like lips pulled into a grin. And inside, faint lines spiraled toward the bottom, almost like veins. I remember laughing nervously, thinking, who drinks out of something like this? Still, I felt drawn to it, like it belonged in my hands. You ever felt that kind of pull? That quiet urge to touch something you shouldn't? That's how it began. For a week, the tea set sat untouched in the shop's back room. Then one night, after closing late, I made myself a cup of coffee. The usual mug was dirty, so I reached for the black one. The first sip was strange. It tasted metallic, like copper, and something else I couldn't name. I thought it was just old dust or residue. But then, the room shifted. Just a little. The hum of the refrigerator deepened. The lights flickered, stretching my reflection across the window like oil. And for half a second, I saw faces in the glass. Not clear, not human, just contorted shapes. I blinked. Gone. I told myself I was exhausted, overworked. I didn't even finish the coffee. But that night, I dreamed of my aunt. She was sitting at her vanity, stirring something invisible in the black cup. She turned her head toward me, and even though her mouth didn't move, I heard her voice say,
"Finish what I started."
When I woke up, my throat was dry, and I could taste that metallic bitterness again. I should have thrown it away then. Over the next few days, things changed. The coffee shop started doing better. Out of nowhere, customers returned. Old regulars I hadn't seen in months. Tips were generous. Machines worked smoother. I even won a small grant I hadn't remembered applying for. Every morning I used that mug. It became routine, like my lucky charm. But with every cup, the dreams worsened. They weren't just nightmares. They felt real. I'd be standing in a room that looked like my shop, except the walls pulsed, breathing slowly. The shelves bent like bones. In those dreams, I'd see the mug sitting on the counter, glowing faintly. And when I'd look inside it, I'd see myself. But the reflection smiled wider than I ever could. The smell of burnt sugar lingered in my sheets. My reflection started to twitch when I didn't. Have you ever looked in a mirror and felt like the person looking back wasn't entirely you? Then I found her journal. It was hidden beneath the false bottom of the crate. Aunt Mildred's handwriting filled every page, cramped and frantic. She wrote about the same tea set, how it spoke to her, how each sip made her sharper, more creative, more alive, until she started hearing voices. She described seeing her own reflection in the cups, changing slowly over time. One entry read, "The black cup smiles wider each morning. It knows my thoughts. It feeds when I drink. The final sip completes the bond." Another, "It promises wealth, longevity, influence, all for one price. A reflection given freely." She mentioned a ritual, the last sip, that seals the exchange. After that, she stopped writing. That night, I tried to throw the cup away, but I couldn't. My hands wouldn't let go. Instead, I stood there trembling, whispering apologies to no one, before setting it back on the shelf. When I stepped away, I swear I heard porcelain scrape against wood, like it was moving. Days blurred. Sleep became useless. Every time I closed my eyes, I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat. Customers' faces seemed distorted, like stretched smiles painted over masks. One afternoon, a man asked for an espresso. When I turned back to hand it over, he was gone. But the door never opened. Only the black mug sat there on the counter, filled to the brim. The smell was wrong. Thick, iron-like. I dumped it out, but even the drain hissed. The next morning, I found the shop door wide open. My reflection in the glass wasn't smiling anymore. It was grinning. Horns where my hair should be. I stopped going to work. I unplugged everything, covered mirrors, sealed windows. But the mug, it stayed warm. Sometimes I'd hear faint tapping, like fingernails against porcelain. Once, I swear it whispered my name, and the voice that came from it. It sounded like me. That night, the dreams reached their peak. I was back in the shop, lights off, surrounded by darkness. The mug was on the counter, glowing faintly red. Steam rose from it, and inside, I saw my reflection again, perfect and still. It spoke. It told me everything I wanted to hear. That I could fix my debts, expand the cafe, make my name known. All I had to do was drink. My hands moved on their own. The cup was hot, almost burning, but I couldn't drop it. I lifted it to my lips. Then, just before the liquid touched my tongue, I saw something inside it. Not my reflection. Hers. Aunt Mildred. Her mouth stretched in a scream that never ended. The red grin widened and I realized she never escaped. That's when I snapped the mug against the sink. It shattered instantly. But instead of falling, the pieces bled. The smell hit me like rust and smoke. And then silence. When I woke up, morning light was flooding the kitchen. The shards were gone. Only a black stain remained on the counter, shaped like a smile. That was 3 months ago. I don't own the shop anymore. Sold it. Moved away. I thought the nightmares would end, but they didn't. Sometimes I still see it. Not the mug, but the grin, reflected in puddles, in glass, in coffee I didn't pour. When I drink water, the surface ripples, and I see faint red lips curl upward. But I haven't touched another mug since. Only paper cups now. Always disposable. I can't prove any of this. Maybe it was stress. Maybe my mind broke. But one thing I know, when something promises to fix everything for a price, it's never done with you when you stop believing. So tell me, if you found something that made your life instantly better, but felt wrong every time you used it, Would you stop? Or would you keep drinking, just one more time? If this story kept you listening, let me know in the comments what you would have done. Because for me, that one sip cost everything I had. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I can still taste the metal. And if this story made your skin crawl, if you want to hear more true horrors and first-hand accounts like this, hit that like button and subscribe to Mr. Midnight Fears, where every story reminds you that fear doesn't need to knock. It's already in your home. Now, if you'll excuse me, my kettle just turned itself on again.